So let's go. Welcome, Jumbo Safari Travelers. My name's Adaya, and I'm going to be your guide here at the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. A couple of ground rules: keep those hands, arms, legs, and feet within the truck at all times, and for no reason whatsoever at any point in time should be standing up, switching spots, or lifting anyone up in the air. It is unpaved road, super bumpy terrain, and we don't want anyone accidentally falling off the truck. So that's why, for both your safety and that of the animals, you got to stay in the spot you're currently in right now until our journey has come to an end. I already mentioned the animal spotting guide. Well, if you guys are interested in taking photos of said animals, definitely recommend having those photo-taking devices out at all times. We can't stop for every single animal, and even if we did, they sure don't stop for us. If you have an extra sports mode, recommend putting on that, maybe even taking a video. Our first stop is a little terry forest where the foliage is quite dense, and the animals excel at that camouflage game. But if you look on the left-hand side, you might notice a copper coloring over there. That is going to be the bongo. They got those inverted horns, and they are a species of antelope. Now, those horns allow them to make little to no noise as they move through the underbrush, which is what earns them the nickname the ghost of the forest, since they can very rarely be seen. Both the male and female bongos are going to have those fun-looking horns.
The ghost of the forest. Looks like you've seen a ghost. What'd you say? Oh, the storks? Oh, what the heck? The, what's it called? The greater kudu is up there. Up on the hill. It's taking over. It said, get out of here, you birds. It's hidden up there behind the leaves. Is there a rhino? Casey, you said the rhino would be asleep.
Cool. On the left-hand side is going to be a black rhino. They're going to be one of the 5 remaining species of rhino around. And then also on the left-hand side is going to be a black and white bird. That's the saddle-billed storks. And if you saw on the hill the pale coloring, that is going to be a species of antelope called the greater kudu.
I know. They're so cool.
So kind of working down the line for the black rhino, like I said, one of the 5 remaining species of rhino alive today. They do have a cone-shaped upper lip, which is a prehensile appendage, fancy lingo for finger-like, as it affords them their eating style of being a forager. As for those saddle-billed storks, males have brown eyes, females have yellow eyes, and they have a pretty big wingspan. It's about as wide as a canopy up above your head. They do tend to be solitary, but when they're close together like that, odds are they are a mated pair. They are going to mate for life. For the greater kudu, they were another species of antelope. We know that those were females because they did not have horns, only the males do, which is a male greater kudu on the spotting guide. That's in front of you guys. And their pale coloring is to emulate the sunlight peeking through the trees. But now we're going to be moving onwards to Safi River. Since it is a body of water, that's going to see the more aquatic inclined animals. So really look to the water for discoloration and movement. Those tend to be pretty good signs that there's an animal underneath the water surface. But if you look on the right, you're going to see a Nile hippopotamus in between the 2 islands. It's getting some snacks right now. And by the trees is going to be some grayish colored birds. Those are the pink-backed pelicans. Now for the pink-backed pelicans, they tend to be by the trees because they build their nest there or on the ground near cliffs. They are colonial nesters, so imagine up to 500 of them. They're all going to be sharing the same nesting ground. And as long as the water quality is good, they do return. So that's why it's really important we maintain the cleanliness of our local waterways. As for the Nile hippopotamus, a group of them is referred to as a bloat, and hippopotamus is Latin for river horse. They get this name because they're going to sink to the bottom of the river, where they walk slash run there, kind of like a horse. They do spend most of their time in the water, having the ability to seal their nostrils and bring their ears flush to their heads so that no water can enter. And that's how they're able to sleep under the water should it tickle their fancy. Should they decide to sleep under the water, all they're going to do is every couple minutes bring their heads up to the surface for some breaths before bringing their heads back down underneath the water, all while remaining unconscious. But it seems like some Nile hippopotamus on the left are taking a nap on the land. And there's even more hippopotamus in the water. If you see where the waterfall's hitting the water near that curved rock wall, there's some tops of some hippopotamus back there. And then make sure the little ones are always firmly seated. They cannot be lifted up, guys. They gotta be firmly on laps. Thank you. Also on the left-hand side is going to be the Nile crocodile in the water. And they're going to be the largest reptiles in Africa. They're going to average at 16 feet long. They do have a pretty slow metabolism, so they only have to eat about once a week. And in one sitting, they're going to eat half their body weight, which could be anywhere from 200 to 300 pounds of meat, depending on their size.
was crazy.
But that is going to be it for Safi River. Next stop is the Savanna. On the Savanna, the foliage isn't dense like it was at the Little Cherry Forest, so the animals here, they're not too concerned with camouflage, but it's all about the safety and numbers, so they prefer to be in groups. Not a lot of foliage does mean not a lot of shade, so some of them gotta rely on certain adaptations to regulate their body temperature. Depending on the animals that we see out there, I may be able to share some cool ways they cool down with you today. But on the right hand side is going to be a tree not quite like the rest, and it's called the baobab tree. Now the baobab tree is going to be the sign that we are entering the Savanna. And baobab trees in general do go by two nicknames, one of which is the tree of life, because they can store thousands of gallons of water in their trunks. They could also grow to be hundreds of years old. The other nickname that they go by is the upside down tree, and that's because their branches kind of look like root systems. They are going to look like that for most of the year. Now coming up on the right hand side is going to be some grayish colored antelopes, or it almost looks black. Those are the wildebeest. Past the wildebeest, you're going to see some stripes. Those are the Hartman mountain zebras. Now for the wildebeest, they are the second most densely populated land mammal, second only to human beings. They can be in groups as small as 10 or as big as in the millions, and they do embark on an annual thing called the Great Migration, where they quite literally move in search of greener pasture. They do migrate in the company of animals such as zebras and giraffes. Now for those Hartman mountain zebras, what sets them apart from other species of zebra is the excess skin that they have on their throat. It's a structure called a dewlap and allows them to regulate their body temperature. Now their stripes don't go all the way around, and though they look quite similar, each zebra has their own unique stripe pattern. That's how they tell each other apart. A group of zebras is referred to as a dazzle. Now on the left hand side, you're going to see a rock formation that kind of looks like a cave, and but the hay that's to the right of the cave, there's two African painted dogs laying down. We got the tan, the black, and the white. And again, yep, there we go. Over the African painted dogs, they tend to hunt at dawn and dusk. So they're getting their power naps in right now. They have a pretty high hunting success rate, higher than lions and hyenas combined, so over 80%. And on the left hand side, you might notice those curved horns over there. Those are going to be the sable antelopes. If they look familiar, that's because they're on the signage. They are the emblem to the Giraffes Wildlife Reserve. And they were chosen because in every single fight or flight situation, they're always going to choose to fight. Very territorial, super protective. Now coming up on the left is going to be some Maasai giraffes. And the way that we know that they're Maasai is because in comparison to the other species of giraffe, they have the darker colored spots and they're jagged around the edges. A group of giraffes is referred to as a tower, probably because they tower above us. They're going to average at 16 to 20 feet tall, with the babies being born around 6 feet. And on the left hand side is a short king, a baby giraffe. He's kind of having his head in the bucket getting some snacks. Sorry. Now for the baby Maasai giraffe, based off his size, I put him at around 8 feet tall. They are going to be born being around 6 feet, so that put him at around a year old. Now, on the left-hand side, you might notice a tan coloring, and that is going to be an eland that's kind of looking at the wildebeest. And they got the twisty horns and dewlaps, similar to the Hartman mountain zebras, but as you can see, the dewlaps are larger on the elands in comparison, and the dewlaps will be larger on the males. So the one that was looking across the way, that was a male eland, and the one that's coming up on the left, that is going to be a female.
I was like, I know it's not a gazelle. What is it?
Now we are approaching a knocked over tree, which is a pretty good indicator of elephant territory. If an elephant can't reach the top of the tree with its trunk to get the leaves that it wants to eat, it's just going to knock that tree over. Which elephants do use their trunks for just about everything, to reach for things, bring food and water into their mouths, to even throw dirt on their backs. They got very sensitive skin, so that dirt's going to work as a sunscreen / insect repellent. And I do see an African elephant on the right hand side. In fact, I see at least 2 of them. There's that one that we can see. It's kind of by the hay eating. Now let's see if we can get a better look at the second one that I was seeing. Yep, so there they both are, and you can see one of them has a lot of dirt on them. Now, based off their size and the fact that there's 2 of them, those are going to be female elephants. The males tend to be larger and not as social. You'll typically find the females in groups referred to as a herd. Herds tend to consist of family units that are the females and their young. Now, typically there is a matriarch in charge. She's going to be the wisest among them. She can remember every single watering hole she's visited since she was a baby. She's going to use that wisdom to help guide the herd in search of watering holes and to follow migratory patterns considered safe in the past. As for the males, once they get old enough, they tend to strike it on their own. If they take their sweet time leaving the herd, they do get kicked out. They can join up with other male elephants to form back to the herd should they decide they still want to socialize. But for the most part, you're going to see them out and about doing their own thing. About to be on either side of it is a substance called red clay. And there is some elephant tracks on the road leading up to the right hand side where there's some divots in the red clay. That's where the elephants are going to use their tusks to break off pieces of it to eat it, kind of like a multivitamin. They're going to use it to make up for any minerals that they're lacking in their diet. Now the tracks are leading back up to the left hand side, so let's see if we spot any elephants on the left. And it seems like there is an African elephant that are making their way.
She's moving. She has a place to be.
Yeah. About that time.
You can see, look at her trunk. She's like, I sense it, I smell it.
You can see she's gonna get some food.
How cool. Ooh, good snack. Oh, she said, I don't want that one.
Also on the left hand side is going to be some greater flamingos. Though flamingos are known for their pink color, freshly hatched, they're actually gray. It isn't until they're 1 to 2 years old that they start to develop that pink color. And the reason behind it is the beta-carotene in the brine shrimp that they like to eat. Now flamingos are very social creatures. They thrive in large groups. And a group of them is called the flamingos.
Here comes another one.
Almost there. I'm pleased.
Is that other elephant?
And there's a second elephant joining.
Oh, it just stretched its leg. It like got into the water.
It's probably waking up.
I feel that. Probably all.
Could you imagine an elephant bone cracking? That'd be crazy.
What that sounds like.
I don't want to know. I'm too close to an elephant. Imagine if I'm hearing that. What do you think? What's your guess on the cheetah situation?
Oh, there's no way.
Too cold? Every time I say that they're not going to be out there, huh?
I know.
We'll see.
I know my cats would be up in a corner somewhere all piled up.
That's for sure.
And then on the move on the left hand side is going to be a cheetah, kind of walking towards the rocks. Now, cheetahs are going to be the fastest land mammal. They can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds, known for their burst of speed. They also got a pair of nature sunglasses, so those black stripes that go from their eyes all the way down actually absorb the sun rays, which is quite useful. They are daytime hunters. And in terms of vocalizations, cheetahs are not going to roar. In fact, they make meow-sharp noises similar to a house cat, and there's 3 more cheetahs kind of bundled up together on the left-hand side. So if you look towards the left where there's some hay on the grass, the cheetahs are sitting on top of the hay that's across from one of the logs that's on the ground. So kind of, you can see them all bundled up together.
See, they gotta stay warm.
Probably for warmth.
Cuddle party. That's cute. I wonder how much purring they're doing.
Now coming up are some Kobe rocks, which are favored by an animal that does roar, the lions. And there's a lioness that's on the left. Now lions love Kobe rocks because they're an excellent source of shade and they get to sleep in their tunnel systems. Lions do spend most of the day sleeping up to 20 hours if it is not in a row. So it's nice that she's awake right now.
Good morning.
Also across the way on the right hand side, standing on the hill, is going to be a species of antelope called the water buck. And on the right are some white rhinos kind of walking around. And there's 3 water bucks on the hill. One standing, 2 that are sitting. Now for the water bucks, they're going to have a ring on their rear and a heart-shaped nose. They get their name because they drink tons of water. In fact, they'll stay in one location as long as the water quality is good. Really migrate to find better sources of water. And there's 2 more lions on the left-hand side, one of which is a male. They're kind of sitting on the grassy platform that's in between the 2 rock structures. Now you can tell one of them is a male because he has that name. It's not fully fleshed out, that's how you know he's on the younger side. Kind of looks like a mohawk, so that put him at around a teenager. Once he reaches maturity, that mane is going to be fuller and darker in color. Now, a group of lions is referred to as a pride, and they're going to use their roars to communicate with each other. Fully grown, a lion's roar can be heard up to 5 miles away, so it's got some bass to it. On the left-hand side, further down, is going to be 2 ostriches. They're kind of sitting down in the grass by that tree over there. You can see their long necks. Now we know those are female ostriches because they have the gray feathers. It's the male ostriches that have the black feathers with the white tips. They are the fastest flightless bird. They can go up to 43 miles per hour, and they use their large wings to guide themselves as they run. Now, as for those white rhinos that we're getting another look at on the right-hand side, a group of them is referred to as a crash, and the white rhinos are the more social of the different rhino species, so you'll typically find them in those crashes. And white rhinos do get their names due to a mistranslation. In Afrikaans, they're referred to as white. It just means wide. They got wide mouths, but Westerners heard them getting called white, and it sounds like white to me. So they stayed with the name white rhino. On the right-hand side is a dirt path trail. On the ground next to it is a collection of ostrich eggs. Ostrich eggs are going to be quite large, quite sturdy. They weigh around 4 pounds, which is approximately 24 chicken eggs. And a grown human being could stand on top of them, would not even crack.
Won't even crack.
Now we are reaching the edge of the reserve, the warden's post, and she likes to keep some Nigerian dwarf goats, which I can't really blame her. They are super cute. They're going to be smaller than other species of goat, that's why they get the name dwarf. But they're still decent size. They are a domesticated species and a dairy goat, so farmers keep around for their milk. And since they're more compact, they take up less space. So there they are on the left. They're kind of showing off their climbing skills. That's how they got on top of the roof of both the building and the car.